Well, hello and welcome to Vets Clinic Live on Wednesday the 13th of February. And as you can see, it's our guinea pig special. I feel a bit like a Bond villain here with a white...
You don't look like one.
Really, you, however, with your neatly coiffured moustache and hair, do look slightly villainesque. But yes, it's all about guinea pigs today. We've joined later on by Margaret Hooper from the Wiltshire KV Club. When we first set this up, I thought we were going to be talking about caving and exploring potholes, but we're not, because obviously KV is the Latin term for a guinea pig, the family that guinea pigs come from. So we're going to be talking guinea pigs. If you want to get in touch on Facebook, if you've got any guinea pig questions you want to ask us or Margaret later on, that'd be great to hear from you. And we're going to be talking a bit about guinea pig behaviour.
Yeah,
with
I
Jez.
love guinea pigs.
They're great, aren't they? I really do like them.
Look at Tallulah here. His name isn't Tallulah, but I've renamed it Tallulah.
Beautiful. And we're going to have our head vet, Adrian, on later on as well to talk about health issues and looking after guinea pigs and so on. So it's all about guinea pigs. But we've also got some other great stuff. We've got our normal competitions, a bit more about that later on. And we've got our look at the news stories, and there's good news stories around. Now, obviously, we're going to talk about horse meat because of our interest in pet food and stuff and all that kind of story and some of the other news stories. But tell us about caption competitions, Jez.
We have another caption competition this week with a really cool picture. There is a picture, we will show it for you on the screen, involving, of course, a guinea pig, because it is Guinea Pig Week this week. So all you have to do is log on to the Vets Clinic Facebook page and add your quirky, interesting or funny caption, and before the end of the show, we will pick a winner that wins a bag of Vets Kitchen food.
Yeah,
I'm getting good at this now. See?
Yeah. So get your entries in, that would be great. And we've also, just to let you know, we've got an ongoing competition on our Vets Kitchen Facebook page to win a season ticket to Crufts. All you have to do is go there and like and share a post on the Vets Kitchen page, and you could be in with the chance of winning a fantastic prize, which is these tickets to Crufts, which is a really great prize. It gets you in for all 4 days, which is fantastic. Other things we've got coming up in the show are a look at a really interesting case we had this week here at the clinic involving Rio, the dog with the hairiest ears I've ever seen.
Is that a bad thing, hairy ears?
Well, it was in his case, because very irritated his ears, really unpleasant for him. So we had him in and plucked his ears, but it was quite interesting, just to see quite what goes on in a dog's ears and the impact it can make.
Through a dog's ear.
Through a dog's ear, exactly. And we're going to talk about a bit later on about clicker training as well, and you've got a clicker, haven't you?
I have, it's here.
We thought it might be a bit fun if I try and train you, while we're at it, during the course of the show.
Right. What's that? What's that random click?
So
I've told you once how it works.
So I need to prime it, don't I? So as we haven't got any food, how about if I pat you?
Yes.
So if I pat you...
Yeah, that's presuming I like being patted.
So I click and then pat.
Yes, that's right.
And then you'll get to know that a click is a good thing.
So any second now when you click, you'll get punched.
Anyway, we're going to be talking about clicker training later on. But first of all, let's look at news stories. And at this point, I think it might be worth putting our lovely guinea pigs back over there with Margaret. So Margaret, if I could just ask you to take these guinea pigs and we'll see them later on. But some fascinating news stories that have been around this week. And the first one, just really amazing. And there's this cat called Caffrey who's got 2 legs. I mean, it's incredible enough when you see an animal with 3 legs, but 2 legs. And he's a black Persian. He lost his left hind leg years ago. He's quite old now. So 10 years ago, he's run over and lost a leg. Spent sort of £3,500 on operations. So done fine, which is quite, I guess, routine to survive that kind of thing. But then recently, tragedy struck 4 months ago, forced to have his front left leg amputated. Another £4,000 operation.
Again.
I didn't say exactly how it happened, but you would assume so. And one thing I'll say is a £4,000 operation. I mean, they obviously didn't come to Vets Clinic, did they? But he's doing brilliantly. Apart, the fact that he's only got legs on the right side. I mean, how
they're both on one side of the body.
So you'd have thought if there was a back left and a front right, you'd kind of balance. But he's got 2 legs on one side, and it's just amazing that that a cat.
Is that?
And I think it's amazing as well that the owners opted to go through that, because so many people would have put him to sleep.
Yeah.
And I guess it just goes to show, that there's always there are often ways forward. You don't have to give up on animals.
That's a pretty remarkable cat, though, isn't it? Because how did you say it was 13?
13, yeah.
And you think that most 13-year-old cats would go, stuff it, I'm just going to sit on the sofa and ride this one out. But that's incredible. He's up and running around. Isn't that amazing?
It is, isn't it? I mean,
Now, when you or I think you're having a bad day at home or work, just remember Caffrey, the 2-legged cat, Puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? Eh?
And I guess the next news story puts things into perspective as well. And this is a less savoury story, but about 140 dogs rescued from one house in Ireland. I mean, one house, I have enough trouble with one dog in our house.
Yeah, and that's messy.
And that's messy, but 140, and this was apparently a dog hoarder.
Yeah.
And mainly Bichon Frise crosses, King Charles Cavaliers and Shih Tzus.
Little ones then.
Yeah, but even so, I
get
mean,
more
140 dogs. I mean, from your point of view as a behaviourist, what kind of impact is that going to have on those dogs?
Well, potentially, of course, stress. You know, overcrowding causes lots of stress and anxiety. But ironically, the socialisation, you'd think they'd get lots of socialisation with the dogs, but because of the heightened stress and anxiety and overcrowding, you actually get a decrease, a reduction in socialisation. So they become much more wary and socially clunky with other dogs.
And do they, if you put 140 dogs together, would they form sort of cliques and groups and kind of gangs, or would they just all be in it for themselves, or...
That's quite an interest. I don't know. I imagine that research has never been done, but off the top of my head, I would imagine probably not. I imagine it sort of becomes it depends on how much room they've got, and I would imagine because they've been rescued, not very much room at all, right?
So you think it's probably just overwhelming misery all round? Yeah. We'll all try and survive. And I mean, it sounds like it's almost possibly not a purposefully nasty bit of dog breeding, but it's someone with possibly issues who's a dog hoarder, but.
You're going to likely end up with an awful lot of aggressive dogs. So when they come to rehome, of course, they're naturally going to be more aggressive towards other dogs, aren't they? Because they've learnt to guard their own resources and keep their own space or their own food by demonstrating aggression.
But I guess that could be sort of dealt with, those kind of issues?
Yeah.
I suppose it depends how long they were in those situations for, doesn't it? You guess if there's breeding bitches in there who've been there for years, they're going to be pretty institutionalised, aren't
they?
So,
It's very sad. We don't think about that, do they? But then I guess that's hoarding. It's almost another separate issue, isn't it? Is the mentality of hoarders. Yeah.
Well, just before we get on to the last news story, just we've had some comments come in for this caption competition, so thanks for those. We've got Jessie says, dinner, which is quite apt. Mary has said, let me in, little pig, or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in.
That's a very good one. Yeah. I like that.
And Jerry said, you're the first pig I ever met that squeaks. That's true. Kay said, listen, Kitty, there's only room for one of us in here and I'm not budging. There's a guinea pig with attitude there. And Donna Louisa said, food bowl's empty. I wonder if Mr. Guinea knows I'm here. This is a good picture though, isn't it?
It is. Well, that's Katie's, isn't it?
Is that Katie the nurse here at the clinic?
Yeah. And they're best of friends, apparently.
What we should have said instead of a caption competition is, what happened next? Kind of. Yeah. So thank you for those. Keep them coming in. Plenty of time to get your entries in for our competition. And also, if you've got any questions you want to ask us about guinea pigs, either say Jez on behaviour, Adrian on sort of veterinary health, or Margaret on generally looking after and showing and caring for guinea pigs. So our last question. Just on the, our last news story is the one that's been really in the news, which is all about this horse meat, food contamination scandal. And I guess it's not really a behavioural question, is it? But from my perspective, running Vet's Kitchen and the food, obviously it raises concerns about what goes into our food. So we've done a bit of work and we've gone back to our manufacturers who make our food for us and got some reassurances from them regarding our supply chain. And that's all gone up on our Facebook page, so you can see our statement about that. But I guess that the problem is, though, we can get all those assurances that we can get, but really, if there's problems behind that, if there are a problem in the supply chain that what our manufacturers are being sold as a certain meat, then it brings the whole food chain into question. But the other sort of positive thing I can say about our products is there's no beef in them, and that seems to have been the main one that has had problems over that have come to light. So we only use chicken and lamb and fish because they're the better quality proteins for animals. But as it turns out, that they seem to be the ones not affected. But we'll keep you posted on that. And make sure we're thorough in checking our products. But
thoroughbred.
Certainly thoroughbred. Nay. But we can rest assured that to the best of our knowledge, there's no contamination in our food, and we'll do everything we can to ensure that. So, any sort of comments on that from your side?
My neighbour was in hospital because they had some bad meat or something, but he's in a stable condition now, so that's okay. Stable condition, Joe. I had to get it in. I had to get it in.
Right. I think on that note, we should move on to our Q&A, really, shouldn't we? Because time is coming on, and I can't put up with any more horsey jokes.
So stop horsing around. Let's get on with it. Come on.
Oh God. Right. Can you answer these on the hoof?
I can, yeah, we'll have a go. Trot on.
Right. Okay. Right, we'll hit the first one at a bit of a gallop. So, Catherine Clark has said, what is the rule? Do we allow dogs to sleep on the bed or not?
Really good question. Brilliant question, Catherine. One of the best questions you've ever had. I don't care. I don't care what you do with your dog. It's your dog, Catherine. If you can make it lick the plate after dinner if you want, I don't care. The only time when sleeping on a bed becomes an issue is potentially if your dog has separation anxiety. We absolutely need to stop any sleeping on the bed then, because we get far too much attachment and relied attachment. But generally, if you don't have any behaviour problems with your dog and you're just worried about all the many millions of people that have opinions about things they know nothing about, don't worry about it. Let your dog sleep on your bed as long as there's no behaviour problems associated with it.
Because I've always sort of heard from a behavioural point of view, you should have ground rules. You know, it's important that, you know, dogs shouldn't be on the furniture, they shouldn't be on the bed, perhaps they shouldn't even go upstairs. Because a dog needs to have rules a bit like children. I guess they need to have boundaries and rules and everything. Is that a load of rubbish, or is that...
It's not necessarily a load of rubbish, but it depends on where practically and realistically you end that piece of advice. I mean, my dogs go up and down the stairs all the time. I like having them in the office when I'm upstairs working. They come on the bed on a Sunday as a special treat because we wash all the sheets on a Sunday, so I don't care if you get fur and mud on it then. But, you know, there are little things we do, like making them sit before they go outside, so it's calmer, and sit before they come inside, and they'll settle on cue. So we don't have any issues like that in the house with energy.
I guess maybe there's more of an issue if you've got an generally uncontrollable dog that doesn't have that. Yeah, you haven't got that control over it.
Focus and framework. But
you'd say ground rules are not necessarily a vital thing. That consistency.
Depends what you define as ground rules. That's what I'm saying. So ground rules are very generalised. If you say ground rules is, you know, we don't want them running around, terracing around all over the place, and we don't want them chewing the furniture and stuff. Well, those are kind of ground rules, aren't they? But you know, and go to your bed when I tell you to go to your bed. But as long as you can get your dog to watch me and get some focus and settle down. We're still learning. If any of you are watching this thinking, that's not clicker training, you're right. I'm still teaching him. So the short answer is no, it doesn't matter, fine. Catherine, at all.
Thank you. Okay, now next question from Ira. I'm sorry if I've mispronounced your name. Ira Stones said, we have had our 12-week-old puppy for almost 2 weeks, and she's recently started mouthing me. Is this bad? Also, what do you think of clicker training? And I think I can answer your... I'll start the answer of your first one because I've been listening to you over the weeks. I think no, I think it's good is the answer. Am I correct?
That's great. Yes, very good. In fact, we can put up a poster on the Facebook page afterwards to give you a more fuller answer, but it's really important that puppies learn how hard to bite without causing injury. So you must let your puppy bite you. Do not punish your puppy for biting.
Because they're learning the whole... So you, I mean, you've been through this before, but when they bite, ow, you make it clear that it hurts, and they learn. Otherwise, I mean, if you just tell them no, get off. What does that do to them?
They stop biting. But then, of course, if they stop biting, they don't learn how hard to bite without causing injury. When they get older and they've got very strong jaws and big teeth, and you accidentally tread on their tail or trip over them, or you disturb them and they swing around and bite you, it's going to hurt because they don't know how hard to bite without causing injury. And the important thing, of course, is it's a 4-week plan, and you make it harder for the puppy. So the puppy learns these humans bruise like a peach. You know, week 1, when it hurts, you tell them it hurts. Week 2, just when they're bearing down, you tell them it hurts. Week 3, when you feel contact with the teeth, you tell them it hurts. Week 4, when they mouth, you tell them it hurts. We've got an
Gertrude is on the move.
Desperate to come on the sofa. And clicker training, it's great if you want to use it. Some people get a little bit, in my opinion, carried away, and you have to have a clicker in every pocket just in case, because the dog won't do anything to get a clicker. The clicker is all about pairing a behaviour, a response to the correct behaviour, in this a clicker, and that means, oh, I did it right, I know I'll get a treat. But you could use a touch, you could use yes. You know, I don't
any sound will do.
Yeah, pretty much. The nice thing about clicker is it sounds the same every single time you do it all the way throughout the year. It's nice and consistent.
And in a 10-second, just to get it right, so the way you do it is you click and you treat.
Yes, randomly.
Click, treat.
Yep, randomly.
Click, treat, randomly. So then from once you've paired the responses, you can click, and it almost is a Pavlovian. The dog thinks, I've kind of, the click means I've done well, I get a treat.
That's
there's the same feeling from having the treat, just from the clicker.
Yes, you must pair it with the treat.
Every time, or don't?
Yeah, the easy answer is yes. Those people that are advanced clicker trainers, we know there's another answer, but the easy answer is yes every time. Fine,
thank you. Right, last question, just quickly, because we want to get on to guinea pigs.
Yes.
So Louise has said she's got a 15-week-old Cocker Spaniel pup, has started to eat other dogs' poo. it goes in quite a lot of detail here. Literally eating as soon as it comes out of our other dog, eats it before it hits the ground. So thanks for that detail. She has a very good quality diet. She's tried giving pineapple, but that hasn't done. Obviously, there's kind of veterinary and behavioural things. From a behaviourist, what's your take on that?
All of the old wise tales don't work. In essence, two things. Number one, teach your Cocker Spaniel a really strong off or leave it cue. And there are resources online, and including on my website, where you can get the information for free. But what you must do is change your response. So if you get really super excited and carried away and go, no, 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 stop eating the poo, the dog thinks, ooh, this is obviously really like prized stuff. I'm going to need to quit before they get there. So nice and relaxed, teach a nice, good off cue, clean up all the poo in the garden, and get, if your puppy goes out there with your other dog, don't let them. Clean up the other poo first. If we stop the behaviour from happening, it will help reduce it on its own, in essence.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Sorry about that being so quick, but we're on a bit of a tight time schedule. So just before we introduce our guinea pigs, just a few more of your caption competitions. We've got lots of good ones here. I can't read them all out. Where did I put that lucky guinea? Cat on a hopped-in roof. I'll have my paw on the button. Yeah, lots of good ones. Thank you. I told you I'd get the penthouse suite, little piggy. And why do you always get the bottom bunk, huh? Daft pig. So lots of great ones. Thanks ever so much. Keep them coming in. But we're going to have our little sting for 20 seconds or so, and then when we come back, we're going to be introducing our guest, who is Margaret Hooper from the Wiltshire KV Club, and we're going to be talking all about guinea pigs. Okay, well, I'm delighted to be joined by Margaret Hooper. So welcome, Margaret. Thanks for coming along and bringing your lovely collection of guinea pigs. So first of all, just introduce us to who you've got, who we're holding here.
This is my granddaughter's guinea pig, who's called Georgie, and he's a Texel guinea pig. Right. And this one's one of mine, which I haven't really got a name.
Guinea pigs are so great when they come out so advanced, don't they? They're not like a helpless little baby. They come out sort of ready to go. And they're pretty robust as well. Obviously, we do have some health issues and so on, but before we get on to those, just coming back to your involvement with guinea pigs, do you show them as well as keep them?
Yes,
and
I
is there
show
a sort of
them.
active scene
Very active scene throughout the whole of England, Scotland, Wales, and Europe.
And what goes on in that set? So they're judged, I suppose, but like all showing against the sort of breed standards and conformation, and I've never been that comfortable with that whole world, particularly in dogs and cats, because I think it does lead to these quite extreme breeds, but it doesn't seem to be the case in guinea pigs. Is that fair to say?
It is. There is pure breed guinea pigs, which is like this one and this one, but you can also show your crossbred guinea pigs, and it's a much more relaxed atmosphere, though people, are very keen, obviously, to show their pigs and win, but it's not like cats and dogs. You don't get big money. It's more.
And what makes? What would make this one a sort of prize-winning guinea pig or not?
Yes, she is. Short face,
right?
Good size, big eyes, big ears.
Does she win a rosette or not? What does she
win?
Oh,
well,
wow.
they win rosettes, a little tiny bit of money.
Oh, brilliant.
Trophies and cups.
Wow.
And the origins of guinea pigs, they come from South America, don't they? They're from sort of their mountain species.
Yes,
so,
Peru. That's where they originally come from, but a little bit different now. Yeah. More like this colouring of this baby actually is the original colouring of guinea pigs.
As a sort of camouflage.
Yes, it is.
Okay. And Jez, what about behavioural issue? I mean, I guess you never really get called on to consult on guinea pigs, but
I've had a couple.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of problems?
Aggression. Because they don't get handled enough.
Right.
See, if it's given the trap that some people fall into is because it's little and it's sort of busies itself in a cage, and the kids want it, and then after 2 weeks they get fed up of it, and then they're not handled enough. But they're amazing guinea pigs. You can train them. I mean, you can litter train.
Where's our clicker gone? You can clicker train them.
You can clicker train guinea pigs. You can.
Have you ever tried that?
No.
It's not phenomenally successful to litter train.
So
this is attention-seeking little squeaky, and Yeah, I know. But also you can teach them to beg, to come to you, to recognise their name. In fact, guinea pigs are used to detect tobacco and gunpowder by certain authorities across the world.
Wow.
In Portugal and
Did you know
America.
No, I didn't know.
My mentor, Dr. Abrantes, does something called guinea pig camp, where he teaches animal trainers to learn how to train guinea pigs. They're a phenomenal
That's
species.
amazing, isn't it? And is there something special about guinea pigs that makes them so suitable for that?
Well, because of course they can be handled, and you can teach them in.
And they're small, and
The nice thing about teaching guinea pigs rather than dogs is guinea pigs are less forgiving because they don't have the same bond that dogs and humans have. So they're, you've got to get it right. So they're quite good for teaching timing. So you'd be perfect for a guinea pig because they ain't going to take any of your rubbish and click it in the wrong places.
Thank you. And so Margaret, just for people out there who would like to think about a guinea pig as a pet, obviously you'd recommend them as a pet.
Oh, yeah,
and what are the sort of basic essentials about choosing a guinea pig, and then what sort of equipment and stuff do you need to look after them?
The first thing is where you're going to buy your guinea pig, and you really need to go to someone who's got a good reputation with them.
And is this a specific breeder like yourself, or?
I think exhibitors are the best people to go to.
Okay.
And you want to think about your age that you're getting the guinea pig. They really shouldn't be under 8 weeks old.
Okay.
They're separated from their parents at their mum at 4 weeks old. So that gives them a little bit of time just to sort of settle down before you get them. So definitely not before 8 weeks.
Okay.
And you need to do basic checks to make sure they are in good health. Bright eyes, coats nice and clean.
Do you tend, from unscrupulous breeders, do you get sort of bad guinea pigs? Do you get?
Well, yes, you get unscrupulous. Yeah. Like in everything, people who buy one for a pet don't understand what they're looking for, and they accept what the person's saying. And often it's very poor condition, and they don't last very long.
And when you get them home, obviously they can live in a run outside, they can live indoors. What's your sort of advice on that?
Well, yes. They are perfectly okay in a very secure hutch in your garden, with access to grass in the summer months, as long as it's absolutely fox cat proof, the hutch. Mine are in a brick building because I've got quite a few, so it's easier for me. As long as you've got plenty of light, plenty of fresh air, which is very important, they're okay inside. I don't have them in the house.
No, but obviously people can keep them in the house.
Yes,
obviously the diet and things are essential to keep them healthy, aren't they?
Absolutely, yes.
How long does a guinea pig last? What's the average lifespan of a guinea pig?
They live quite a long time, don't they?
They can live to 8 years.
A lot more than a hamster.
Yeah, but I think average is really 5.
Right.
Yeah, I think so.
Right. Longer than I thought.
Yeah.
Great.
Lovely. Well, thank you ever so much for coming in, Margaret, and showing us your beautiful guinea pigs.
So just to clarify, these are a gift, right? We can keep this one. He seems to really like
them. You better ask.
Thank you ever so much for coming in and showing us these lovely guinea pigs. And we'll see you again and talk more guinea pigs later on. And coming up, we've got our head vet, Adrian Cornto, who's going to talk about looking after a guinea pig, some of the health problems that we see in guinea pigs and so on, as well as answering some of your health problems. Don't forget, you can still get your entries in for our caption competition, so you can go onto our Facebook page for that. But before we go on to Adrian, we're just going to have a quick look at a film about a dog with hairy ears I mentioned at the top of the show. This is Rio the poodle, and here's the story of us plucking his ears the other day here at the clinic. This is Rio the poodle. And he's in today because he's got a problem with his ears, and it's quite a strange problem. He's really irritated by his ears, and I think what's going on is he's got very, very hairy ear canals because of his sort of curly hair. So the main reason to have him in is to knock him out so he's asleep, so we can pluck his ears, get all that hair out, see if there's anything else going on in there, whether he's got anything stuck in there or build up a wax. So it's really just to sort of check his ears, but because he's quite a high, sort of excitable dog, it's going to be the only way to do it is to do it under an anaesthetic.
Cool.
Okay, so Rio's asleep now, just got him, and his nose wasn't too bad actually. He was nicely subdued by the pre-medication, so that took the edge off him. He's gone to sleep nicely, and we'll now start having a look at his ears. This is, I think, the problem. He's got so much hair. You can just see all this matted hair in his ears, and that's causing him a lot of irritation. It means that it's very hard to clean the ears because of all that. So what we're going to do is try and get that out, and then we can have a really good look at his inside his ear canal. As you can see, we're getting an awful lot of this very waxy hair out of his ears, and that's going to be really impeding the airflow into his ears, which is essential to keep the ears clean and prevent infection. So I think this is really the cause of his problem, and we're going to get all that out, and then we're going to have a really good look down there. Really unpleasant waxy hair right down round the corner of his ear canal, so that's going to have to come out as well. So now I've got rid of most of the hair, what I'm going to do is fill the ear canal up with some ear cleaner and give it a really good massage and try and get rid of all the wax that's in there, and then I'll have another look and see how much more there is to get out. So we've done the first ear, we've rolled him over, and now we're going to tackle the second one, which looks just as hairy as the first, and then we'll wake him up and hopefully he'll be done. Adrian's just taken a bit of a swab there, just with that cotton wool bud, putting it on the slide, then he's going to go and look at it under the microscope, just as a check to see what bacteria are in the ear and how sort of bad and potentially serious the ear infection is. So that's the second ear finished, and we've just had the results back from Adrian from the lab, and he's found there's a really quite pronounced infection with yeast, which is quite a common pathogen to find in ears. So the drops we've got on there will sort that out, plus getting rid of all that fur and everything should let the air get in and help it heal up. So hopefully Rio's ears are going to be sorted out by this. Well, that was the story of Rio, the dog, and we'll talk a bit more about him later on. But we've got some feedback on the meat story, the horse meat story, and people really reacting to this. It just makes me think, what is in the cat food my cats eat? Well, if it's Vet's Kitchen, I can assure you as well as I can that it's not horse meat. Makes me sick. Food costs a lot, and they put crappy horse meat in it. And then on the other hand, how the hell can anyone kill a healthy horse just to put it in food to rip us off? Sounds like there's a lot of anger out there about this. So what do you think about the whole scandal?
That's pretty disgraceful, isn't it, really? I mean, I have to say I have eaten horse before.
But when you knew you were eating horse,
it was in France, it's just a one-off, and it's the way it was done over there at the time, and it was fine. But I think this way, sneaking it in for people is a bit disgraceful.
And especially, I mean, as vets, we have a role in that chain, don't we? In the abattoirs and in the food processing, there are vets along the way. So, but I guess this is, the horses were probably slaughtered fine. It's just what happens to the meat. It gets
and there's the question mark over whether they've got that anti-inflammatory in the meat as well, which could be a human health issue there. So that could be a bit of a problem. I have to say that at the same time they had the story about the pork meat being in the prison food for Muslim prisoners, and I thought that's probably even worse, really, because not only is that offensive, but it's against your religion as well. So. Not good.
I think we're in agreement that it's very bad. Anyway, let's move on to guinea pigs, shall we?
Yeah, let's do that.
So we saw Margaret there with her lovely guinea pigs. I've always thought they're great pets. They're some of my favourite pets.
Yeah.
I get a bit more nervous when they come into the clinic, though, because they're one of those species where we sometimes struggle to find things to fix on them. If a guinea pig comes in that's ill, you'd say it's probably got less chance of pulling through than a dog.
Yeah, I mean, anything small has less of a chance because they go downhill a lot quicker. And I suppose technically speaking, perhaps there's less you can do with them, although that's very much down to the client. I mean, I've worked with some clients in the past who are as keen, if not more keen, to do as much for their guinea pig as you would usually do for a cat or a dog. And sometimes they're insured as well. And in those cases, I mean, the things that I would usually do for a cat or dog, I would do in those situations too. So I've done, exploratory surgeries and ultrasounds and blood tests and all those things that most people aren't keen to go to for the guinea pig, because although they love their guinea pig, there's the cost issue there.
And the kind of common health problems that we see in guinea pigs, what would you say are kind of the most common things?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of areas that kind of crop up routinely. Dental problems are probably the biggest one we see, and then after that you get skin problems, respiratory problems and bladder problems. Those are probably the main ones.
And a lot of them come back to diet, don't they? Because they have some quite specific requirements. They need a good quality food which provides things like vitamin C particularly, calcium for their bones and their teeth and so on. So.
And then some fibre and roughage and things like that.
So
Diet, incredibly important, as it is in rabbits too. I mean, what we're talking about is preferably a pellet-based food rather than one of the mueslis. I mean, the muesli diets are fine, they're a balanced diet, but only if the...
Exactly, so they selectively feed and they leave the ones with the calcium in, and then it's no good. Weak jaws and so on.
And then, your hay and things like and your grass is incredibly important for keeping the teeth down, because them and rabbits, their teeth, constantly grow. So if you don't grind them down, you get a misalignment, and that's just not at the front, but at the back. And really commonly, I'll see, I don't know, 1 or 2 a month where the teeth at the back have overgrown over the tongue, and they've pinned the tongue to the bottom of the mouth, and the tongue can't move anymore, and that's really awful. I mean, much worse than what we'd see in a rabbit.
And obviously, to solve that, you have to anaesthetise a guinea pig and trim those teeth. And that brings on to the issue of anaesthetics in guinea pigs, which is always a bit of a dicey
Yeah, I mean, I mean, obviously we use the more modern ones here now, and they are safer. But the anaesthetic death risk in small furries, so anything hamster, rabbit, guinea pig wise, is about 10 times higher than it is for a cat or a dog. And they're also prone to post-operative problems. They don't eat in the day or two afterwards, and that can be a nightmare too. So yeah, it is a bit.
So it's best avoided if possible.
Yeah, if we can avoid an anaesthetic in these guys, I would rather do that. Yeah.
You mentioned also sort of respiratory and bladder problems. So can you tell us a bit more about
Well,
those?
most guinea pigs can carry a respiratory tract infection called Bordetella, which is very similar to the kennel cough that we see in dogs. And some of them don't have any signs at all, and some of them, if they get stressed or they move in with, rabbits can catch it from them, and they flare up and they get really nasty respiratory disease. And with the bladder problems, they're really, really prone to cystitis. So you'll see, probably all you'll see is blood coming through in the urine. But
stress causing that, or
all sorts of reasons. All sorts of reasons. Stress, infection, stones. We can see. You get some great big stones that are formed in the bladders of these guys. So we see that quite commonly.
But generally, I mean, sort of just concluding on that. I mean, they're generally pretty healthy, aren't we? And we don't probably see very many of them in the clinic compared to the population out there.
No, they're pretty robust little creatures, and we don't see a lot of them. You're right. I think they are more sturdy than things like your rabbits. They tend to go on quite well. Just one further point, as you mentioned briefly on the diet front, with the vitamin C part of it, really high requirement for vitamin C, and that vitamin C goes off in the food very quickly. So if you've got a big bag, it might be naff by the end of it. And similarly, if you're putting it in the water, if you've got a metal drinker, that makes the vitamin C disappear very quickly. So
it's important they've got fresh food and fresh water.
Yeah, and if you do things like, I mean, back in the day when I was young, we had a rabbit and a guinea pig. It was very common back then, but it's really a no-no because the dietary requirements of both are very different. So you can't feed a guinea pig on rabbit food; it just doesn't work.
That's interesting. Yeah, because that's quite a common sort of thing. People keeping the two together.
Yeah, and it's really not ideal. It should be,
Okay. Thank you very much. Well, quickly before we go, we've got a couple of other questions not to do with guinea pigs. The first one on rabbits from Anika, who said, I've kept rabbits for 20 years, but I've always wondered why they can't or don't appear to throw up.
Yeah, there's a couple of species that can't vomit, and as far as I'm aware, the main reason in rabbits is that the muscle wall of the stomach is very thin, and as such, they don't have the power there to be able to force the vomit up. There's other theories as well about they might not have a vomiting centre, or that the sphincter is very tight, but as far as I'm aware, it's the looseness and the flabbiness of the stomach that means they can't.
God, things you learn on this show, isn't it amazing? And the last one from Jessie, who said, why does my Labrador prefer water out of my bath rather than out of the other tap? Well, I mean, quite often we see pets that prefer rainwater and bottled water to tap water because of the chlorine. But this dog obviously prefers it out the bath than the other time.
Is she in the bath at the time?
maybe
this is a Jez question.
maybe it is. It's more of a behavioural thing that she is some kind of weird fetish your Labrador.
I mean, cats is the ones we see it more frequently. People always say, "Oh, he doesn't drink out of the water bowl," because they're really fastidious. And maybe the dog's going down the same route here. I mean, generally speaking, your water bowl should be away from your food bowl, nowhere near it, nowhere near a litter tray. It should be in a metal bowl or a ceramic bowl. A wide one, because they don't like a really narrow one, it should be filled up to the brim. So if you've got a cat that only drinks outside or only drinks from the dog bowl because he thinks he's a dog, it's because he wants a bigger bowl, high up and somewhere away from his food, and he'll drink a lot more. And he'll be healthier for it.
Great stuff. Right, we're out of time, but just time to finish our caption competition with the picture of the cat and the guinea pig. And we've had loads of entries, so thanks ever so much again for all your entries. And sorry you can't all be winners, but we have to pick one. We've got some cracking ones. We just had some coming through here. I like this one. Babe, Pig in the Kitty. Obviously a reference to the Babe film, Pig in the City. Fantastic. Yeah, I've been expecting you, 00 Pig. Personally, I'm a fan of that one. What do you reckon, Adrian?
Yeah, I think that's
Should we go with that one?
Yeah.
Okay, so Mary Maddow Gladdy Wild, what a name. You're the winner of this week's caption competition for Let Me In, Little Pig, or I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. So it's a great reference to the pig and the cat there. So thank you ever so much for entering. We'll get a bag of Vet's Kitchen food out to you, Mary, and we'll see you next week. What have we got on next week? We've got some great stuff on next week. I'll have to find out what it is. We've got a guy coming in from Poochie Portraits to talk about taking photos and pictures of your pets. That should be fascinating. And we've got more Q&As with Adrian. So we'll see you same time next week, 6 o'clock next Wednesday for more Vet's Clinic Live. Thank you very much.
See you then.
Cheerio.
Bye.